This encounter is no accident. A profound knowing stirs within you, a silent current guiding you towards clarity, confirming that what you've envisioned is not merely possible, but already in energetic motion. Know this: you are not navigating this seismic shift in solitude. Reality, like a fractal cosmic design, orchestrates itself in resonant patterns. Once you attune to these rhythms, you'll realize every past moment was a precise preparation, nothing truly wasted. If synchronicities have been amplifying, moments too perfect to be random, or an unshakable inner calm, then you are precisely tuned to the frequency of what is about to unfold. Have you sensed life's volume intensifying just before a major metamorphosis? It's as if the universe, in its grand orchestration, cranks up every pressure point. Financial burdens press heavier, relationships stretch every boundary. The clear path you once perceived now feels shrouded in an unsettling fog. This period of intense holding, where pieces seem to slip through your grasp even as you carry an impossible weight, often precedes the opening of an entirely new quantum chapter. Many misinterpret this as a signal of misdirection, but they miss the profound truth. You are standing at the very threshold of a radical regenesis, closer than ever before. Consider this deeply. True transformation rarely blossoms in comfortable seasons. Instead, quantum leaps, those epical shifts in perception and reality, often erupt from periods that demanded everything, activating every defense mechanism you possess. It mirrors the final, arduous ascent of a mountain. It demands every ounce of your being. Yet it is precisely this struggle that propels you to the summit, defying all logic. This concluding phase of difficulty is not a block. It is the undeniable energetic signature that evolution is already in process, beneath the visible layers of reality. People overlook this, perceiving challenge as failure, rather than the crucible fire forging a new existence. Imagine being caught in the fierce entropy of dissolution, where each sunrise feels heavier, bills mount despite relentless effort, and demands compound the pressure. In such moments, a feeling of collapse is visceral, as if intelligent design has abandoned you. Yet, beneath this perceived chaos, a profound reconstruction is underway. Old structures are not just breaking, they are purposefully dismantling themselves, creating a void, an energetic vacuum for a reality your previous state could simply not accommodate. It's like a storm raging in darkness. Water pounds the glass, thunder rattles your foundations, and you question if dawn will ever arrive. But remain present, breathe through the tumult, and the first golden rays will inevitably pierce the edges. The storm, in its fierce brevity, passes. The night, though it feels eternal, is merely a fraction of the universal cycle, and the light was already moving towards you long before your senses could perceive it. Neuroscience and human psychology consistently document this phenomenon. Resilience deepens precisely when individuals are poised on the brink of significant transitions. That window, where everything feels overwhelming, is often the very incubator for profound neuroplastic development. It's not a pleasant dwelling, yet the capacity forged during these challenging periods is the precise leverage that prepares you to step into the vastness of what awaits. The trial and the transformation are not separate events, but interwoven threads of the same cosmic fabric. Consider a young woman, suffocated by financial obligations, questioning her capacity to endure. She poured her essence into her days, yet the numbers stubbornly defied alignment. Then, a text arrived, unexpected, from a long-lost connection. It offered the exact support she desperately needed, a precise quantum intervention in her moment of perceived breakdown. What appeared to be total fragmentation was, in truth, the staging ground for a shift she could never have orchestrated through linear effort. The forms transforming in your life, relationships, careers, living situations, belief structures, are simply external reflections of an internal evolution. The true transformation isn't happening to your circumstances, but through your consciousness, with external changes simply mirroring this deeper awakening. This understanding doesn't diminish the significance of external shifts, but places them in their proper context, not as random disruptions, but as coherent expressions of your own evolutionary intelligence, seeking more authentic manifestation. Here's the layer most people never perceive. The universe isn't testing you as punishment. It is expanding you, conditioning your energetic field to hold the magnitude of what is already being prepared for you. A greater blessing demands a more robust foundation, and sometimes, the only way to construct that foundation is by navigating challenges that feel utterly impossible in the moment. The more intense the pressure, the closer the breakthrough typically is. So, if you've been navigating an incessant stream of setbacks, know this: it is not random cosmic cruelty. It is confirmation that you are closer to a radical shift than you realize. Those demanding moments are the unequivocal signals that something colossal is organizing itself behind the veil. And after those storms dissipate, delicate indicators will begin to emerge. Subtle clues that the miracle is not distant, though most people walk right past them, even when they manifest directly within their field of awareness. What Jung and Goddard both independently discovered is that future events cast subtle energetic shadows backward through time. These shadows emerge as premonitions, symbolic dreams, or sudden inexplicable knowing. When human consciousness enters certain receptive states, it can detect these temporal ripples before the actual event solidifies. Goddard termed this the bridge of incidents. When you anchor your awareness on a specific outcome, holding it as already accomplished, events begin orchestrating themselves in the unseen field. Some describe it as an irreducible knowing, a piece of truth they cannot rationalize. Others observe peculiar synchronizations, the same message reappearing, a connection with someone who catalyzes a crucial insight, or opportunities that persistently orbit back into their field. The profound challenge is that most of us disregard these delicate occurrences. We label them as mere random chance, or rationalize them away, convincing ourselves we're fabricating patterns where none exist. Reflect deeply. How many times have you felt an internal pull, a clear intuitive nudge towards a different direction, only to dismiss it because it didn't align with your logical framework? Or perhaps someone offered a perspective that resonated perfectly with a deep contemplation, but you reduced it to meaningless conversation. It is effortlessly simple to rationalize away the sacred, yet, those gentle pushes often contain precisely the informational current you recognize only in retrospect, realizing they were directing you toward your miracle all along. First, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not abstract visualization, but full sensory immersion in already possessing what you are claiming. This is where neuroplasticity comes into play. Consistent emotional states literally rewire your brain to align with that reality. Second, maintain this state, particularly before sleep, when your conscious mind releases its critical grip. Third, observe without anxious monitoring as the incidents assemble. Anxiety disrupts the process, constantly checking if it's working, broadcasts doubt, and the field responds with more reasons for doubt. Yet internally, a field of coherent information was attempting to guide him, a subtle current towards his undeniable path. He couldn't perceive it because he expected guidance to manifest differently, more overtly, more forcefully. This isn't unique to his experience. Most of us miss an open doorway because it doesn't conform to the mental image we've rigidly constructed. It's akin to experiencing hunger but refusing the actual nourishment presented, simply because it doesn't resemble the precise meal you envisioned. You remain in a state of waiting, not recognizing that provision has already presented itself. And in many situations, this is precisely where the miracle is missed, not because it wasn't present, but because it arrived wrapped in a form they didn't anticipate. This field effect explains why consciousness evolution accelerates within coherent communities compared to isolated individual development. The resonant field creates what some traditions call entrainment assistance, supporting individual alignment with specific frequencies through collective coherence that makes evolutionary shifts more accessible sustainable than they would be through solitary effort. Your individual transformation both contributes to and receives support from this greater field coherence. We've all encountered moments where things align in this uncanny manner, but it's easy to lose sight of their frequency when consumed by external pressure or internal uncertainty. Take the example of a woman contemplating a radical career transition. For months, she oscillated, paralyzed by the perceived risk. Then, within 7 days, 3 distinct individuals, barely acquaintances, independently mentioned the exact field she was considering. One spoke of its deep fulfillment, another shared their fresh journey into it, and the third extended an invitation to observe their work. This is not mere coincidental dialogue. This is a pattern crystallizing, a cosmic validation of what her inner voice already knew. The truth is, the universe rarely raises its voice. In The Law and the Promise, Goddard mapped the precise mechanics of this phenomenon. He established that feeling is the creative secret. Imagination provides the form, but feeling provides the force. When you unite a clear mental image with the visceral sensation of its reality, you activate the profound mechanism that generates corresponding synchronicities. The method to discern if something is a pre-miracle indicator or simply random noise lies in its interconnectedness, its resonance. Authentic signs arrive with an undeniable reverberation. They synchronize with your internal dialogue, reappear when you're not actively seeking them, and persistently capture your attention, no matter how many times you attempt to dismiss them. Random occurrences simply don't echo with that depth. Miraculous indicators, however, resonate to your core. If you are recognizing these intricate patterns in your own life right now, pause, take a sacred moment, and share in the comments. What signs have been persistently appearing for you lately? What keeps showing up that you've been trying to dismiss? And once you begin this conscious recognition of sequences, something even more profound occurs. That nascent sense of knowing, of internal navigation, begins to amplify exponentially. You start to feel less like you're guessing blindly, and more like you're following an invisible thread that was already meticulously laid before you. The quantum principles we've explored today about October's transformational energy connect directly to what I call synchronicity recognition. In my video, How the Universe Talks to You, Neville's Synchronicity. In that exploration, you'll discover exactly how these October shifts appear, as divine communication through seemingly random events, the precise language the universe uses to confirm you're aligned with your highest timeline. Understanding this language of synchronicity is essential for navigating October's gateway with maximum awareness. Have you ever experienced an unusual, unshakable sense of peace, even when nothing in your external reality had objectively shifted? It's almost disorienting, because we are conditioned to expect peace to arrive after circumstances resolve, not while they are still fiercely confronting us. Yet, for many, one of the most undeniable signs that something profoundly beneficial is approaching isn't found in the external world at all. It resides in an internal, non-rationalizable shift. Miracles don't always announce themselves with a trumpet blast at the outset. They often begin quietly, with that sudden, inexplicable stillness inside your chest that seems entirely decoupled from the chaos raging around you. What might it be revealing or directing me toward? This single question initiates a profound perceptual shift. That gentle knowing inside, the one you cannot logically construct or explain, is often the initial, sacred sign that the universe is meticulously arranging something immense in your favor. Most people expect breakthroughs to explode into view like fireworks. Loud, bold, impossible to miss. But that very expectation creates confusion for many, because they are scanning outward, while the most potent signs have already begun inward, within their own consciousness. A peaceful heart that remains steady, anchored amidst the fury of the storm, is not insignificant. It is the very initiation of something far more substantial, a prerequisite energetic alignment. Your spirit typically recognizes and integrates truth long before your physical eyes can discern the evidence. When that internal shift takes place, It is conditioning you, strengthening your inner architecture, to navigate the external transformation without succumbing to fear. If this message resonates deep within you, if you feel that undeniable tug of recognition, then I invite you to engage with this content. Like this video, and consider subscribing to this channel. You are joining a sacred space where we relentlessly explore these profound intersections of consciousness and reality, recognizing ourselves not as mere spectators, but as active co-creators. This system's perspective reveals something profound about consciousness evolution. Growth rarely proceeds linearly, but through feedback loops, where output becomes new input in successive cycles of refinement. The clarity gained from properly processing one challenge becomes the foundation for addressing the next at a higher level of awareness. October's accelerated energy often compresses these feedback cycles, allowing multiple iterations of learning and integration that might otherwise require many months to unfold. As we step into October, prepare yourself for transformations that will arrive unannounced. Certain pathways will dissolve silently, others might terminate abruptly. Yet remember, each conclusion you encounter is actually directing you towards something more magnificent, waiting in the wings. The distinctive nature of this month lies in its capacity to accelerate your evolution at times unexpectedly, occasionally through discomfort. Yet remember that very discomfort signals that you're in motion, not stagnant. If you've discovered this message today, you are not lagging behind. You stand precisely at the threshold where transformation initiates. Enter the next stage. What most fail to recognize about October's energy is its quantum acceleration properties. Unlike other transitional periods that gradually shift your reality, October creates ripples in your energetic field that amplify whatever frequency you're currently holding. This is why some experience profound breakthroughs during this month, while others feel unexpected challenges. The difference isn't in the month itself, but in your vibrational stance as you enter it. The universe responds not to your conscious intentions alone, but to the entirety of your energetic signature, including those subconscious patterns still operating beneath your awareness. This is crucial to understand. October doesn't create new conditions in your life. It intensifies and makes visible what was already present, but perhaps hidden from your conscious perception. That relationship that suddenly ends, the tension was already there, vibrating beneath the surface. That unexpected career opportunity, the seeds were already planted in the quantum field of potential, waiting for the right energetic conditions to manifest. October simply accelerates the rate at which these hidden realities become visible in your physical experience. Weeks later, he received a transformative proposal from Golden Lion Corporation, a company whose existence he'd been unaware of during the dreams. Symbols transcend linear time because they exist in the field where past, present, and future are simultaneous. Your consciousness, focused on a specific outcome, activates corresponding symbols that appear as cosmic breadcrumbs, guiding you through the incident bridge. Each symbolic appearance calibrates your trajectory, confirming alignment or signaling necessary course corrections. This awareness gap, the space between what's ending and your complete understanding of why, creates what quantum physicists might call a coherence discontinuity. Your conscious mind seeks patterns, explanations, and neat narratives to process change. But October's energy often initiates shifts before your analytical mind has fully comprehended the purpose. This isn't accidental. This timing actually serves your highest evolution by creating a temporary suspension of intellectual certainty, opening you to receive insights that transcend your current mental constructs. The ancient wisdom keepers understood this principle intimately. In numerous indigenous traditions, October, or its equivalent seasonal transition, was seen as a time when the veil between dimensions thinned, allowing greater access to intuitive knowledge and ancestral wisdom. This wasn't mere superstition, but a recognition of the energetic properties of this transition point. The electromagnetic field of the planet itself undergoes subtle shifts during seasonal transitions that affect your own personal biofield. Within 3 weeks, she received a letter from a childhood friend who'd been dreaming of her repeatedly and felt an irresistible impulse to reconnect. During the same period, two other distant friends made independent contact. None knew about the others, yet all reported the same inexplicable compulsion to reach out. The principle, "everyone is you pushed out," means each person in your experience represents an aspect of your consciousness manifested externally. October acts as a signal amplifier, strengthening certain frequencies that may have been present, but too subtle to consciously register during other times of the year. Consider the environmental shifts occurring during this seasonal transition. Temperature decreases, daylight diminishes, and suddenly, your surroundings vibrate at a different frequency. The natural world begins its retreat, releasing what no longer serves the greater cycle. Trees surrender their foliage, not from dysfunction, but to create energetic space for what's destined to manifest next. This natural cadence reminds us that transformation isn't primarily about abandonment. It represents preparation, purification, realignment, and faith that the subsequent phase will emerge at its perfect timing. What's fascinating about deciduous trees specifically is how they demonstrate quantum principles of intelligent timing. A maple doesn't drop its leaves on an arbitrary schedule. It responds to a complex interplay of light, temperature, and internal biochemical signals. Similarly, your own timing system operates through a sophisticated network of conscious and unconscious inputs. The changes you experience in October aren't random, but precisely calibrated responses to your entire energetic system's requirements for growth. Consider for a moment what science has revealed about trees. They communicate through vast underground mycelial networks, sharing resources and information in what some researchers now call the Wood Wide Web. This interconnected intelligence mirrors your own relationship to the collective field of consciousness. Just as trees aren't truly separate entities, but nodes in a living network, your own transformational process isn't happening in isolation. The shifts you experience during October are part of a larger pattern of evolution that affects the entire human family, though each individual may experience it uniquely based on their specific soul curriculum. This is why certain global or collective shifts often seem to cluster around October. It's not merely coincidence, but the result of a resonant field effect. When a critical mass of individuals undergoes similar internal realignments, it creates ripple effects through the collective consciousness. The personal becomes planetary. Your individual willingness to release what no longer serves you contributes to humanity's broader evolutionary trajectory. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between personal and collective change. It's all interconnected energy in motion. So, when you consciously participate in October's transformational frequency, you're not just shifting your own reality, but contributing to the field conditions that make transformation more accessible to all. This is spiritual responsibility in its truest sense, recognizing that your internal work has external consequences far beyond what your limited perception can track. Goddard documented a speaker who, before every presentation, assumed the audience was receptive, intelligent, and eager to learn. His lectures consistently received excellent responses. When he occasionally forgot this internal preparation and went on stage anxious, the identical presentation received lukewarm audience response. Every significant encounter in your life responds to a transmission you're emitting from your deepest consciousness layer. People appear to fulfill roles in the drama you're internally scripting. Changing the cast requires rewriting the internal script. One witnesses an ending, while the other recognizes a recalibration. This duality perfectly encapsulates October's essential nature: conclusions and initiations, manifesting simultaneously in quantum superposition. This perceptual divergence isn't merely psychological preference, but reflects something more fundamental about consciousness itself. According to quantum principles, observation affects reality. The photon exists as both wave and particle until measured. Similarly, October exists as both ending and beginning simultaneously. What you experience depends largely on the observational stance you take. This isn't metaphorical, but quite literal. Your consciousness isn't passively recording a fixed external reality, but actively participating in determining which potential reality becomes your lived experience. The neuroscience of perception validates this understanding. Your brain receives millions of sensory inputs every second, but consciously processes only a tiny fraction, specifically, those inputs that align with your existing beliefs, expectations, and what you've programmed yourself to notice. This selective attention mechanism explains why two people can experience the same October day so differently. One has trained their perceptual filters to notice decay, diminishment, and ending. The synchronicity was the visible collapse of one specific possibility among infinite ones, orchestrated by the profound psychological necessity of that moment. Goddard mapped the exact mechanism. Your focused imagination selects which timeline you experience. Infinite versions of each moment exist. The version you experience is determined by the consciousness state you occupy. An architect repeatedly visualized a specific project that didn't yet exist. Every detail, every line. Your observational stance determines which potential manifests in your lived experience. The profound implication is that you can intentionally recalibrate your perceptual filters. If you've historically experienced October as a time of heaviness, you can consciously choose to expand your awareness to include the simultaneously existing qualities of clarity, potential, and renewal that this season also contains. This isn't denying reality, but accessing a more complete spectrum of what's already present, but perhaps previously filtered from your conscious awareness. When you observe leaves descending, this mirrors the relationships naturally completing their cycle, the professional paths you've outgrown, or the behavioral patterns you finally release, because they no longer resonate with your expanding consciousness. The profound beauty in this natural shedding process lies in its organic quality, almost as if the universe itself is demonstrating how to gracefully release what has fulfilled its purpose. This isn't merely poetic, it's fundamentally practical in the quantum field. Scientific research on seasonal consciousness shifts demonstrates how these environmental cues influence your neurochemistry and emotional states. As daylight hours contract, your physiology naturally increases melatonin production, potentially deepening your rest cycles, while simultaneously making you more conscious of your energetic fluctuations. This rhythmic shift often intensifies introspection. During transitional seasons, people naturally gravitate toward reevaluating their choices and patterns. Your focused consciousness determines which configuration of infinite possibilities crystallizes into linear experience. This explains why you can change the past by changing how you observe it now, and you can experience the future by assuming its reality in the present. Goddard discovered the consciousness state occupied before sleep is particularly powerful for reality selection. In the hypnagogic state, the conscious mind releases control, and you directly access the mechanism collapsing possibilities. A woman in debt fell asleep nightly, feeling prosperous, imaginarily holding high-value checks. Within 3 months, an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative she didn't know existed materialized, precisely the values she'd imagined. Neuroscientists have observed that during seasonal transitions, particularly autumn, the brain exhibits increased activity in regions associated with self-reflection and decreased activity in areas linked to external task focus. What's even more fascinating is how these neurological shifts create optimal conditions for transformational insight. The slight disruption to your normal cognitive patterns creates what some researchers call beneficial disorientation, a state where rigid thought structures temporarily loosen, allowing new neural connections to form. This is why breakthrough insights often arrive during October. Your brain is literally more neuroplastic during this period, more capable of forming new associations and seeing patterns that were previously invisible to you. You're not merely watching reality unfold. You are actively selecting which reality to experience through each conscious act of observation. Life responds not to what you desire, but to what you assume as real within your observing consciousness's deep field. Synchronicities aren't uniform. Each type carries specific messages, operates through distinct mechanisms, and requires different responses. Goddard identified 4 main categories the universe uses for communicating with human consciousness. Some cutting-edge researchers in chronobiology, the study of biological time, have proposed that humans possess what they call seasonal consciousness gateways, specific periods when our neurobiological systems naturally become more receptive to consciousness expansion. October represents one such gateway, a time when the veil between your conscious and subconscious mind naturally thins. This explains why intuitive insights often strengthen during this month, and why many people report increased dream activity or synchronicities. Your entire system is temporarily operating in an enhanced receptivity mode. Now, examine the symbolic dimension. Throughout history, October has represented the culmination of harvest seasons. It marked the time when communities collected what had been cultivated throughout the year, utilized what served their needs, and preserved essentials for the coming months. Whatever lacked purpose was cleared, leaving only what carried genuine value. This symbolism translates directly into our quantum experience today. You harvest wisdom, experiences, and consciousness expansion from preceding months, while simultaneously preparing for your next evolutionary phase by releasing energetic density and limitation. The harvest metaphor contains layers of wisdom that apply directly to consciousness evolution. Consider the discernment required during traditional harvest seasons. The careful separation of wheat from chaff, fruit from stem, usable from unusable. This archetypal process guides your own internal harvesting. October energy asks, what experiences from the past months have generated wisdom you should preserve? What relationships have yielded connection that nourishes your highest expression? What creations have manifested that align with your soul's purpose? Simultaneously, it asks you to identify what must be composted, returned to the soil of consciousness, to be transformed into something new. That project that didn't manifest as expected isn't a failure, but material for future growth. That relationship that didn't evolve as anticipated isn't a mistake, but a lesson rich with insights about your authentic needs. The harvest metaphor reminds us that nothing is wasted in the economy of consciousness. Even what appears unusable serves the greater cycle when properly integrated. Ancient agricultural societies understood that the harvest wasn't merely a practical necessity, but a spiritual practice. Many harvest rituals included specific ceremonies of gratitude, acknowledging that abundance wasn't solely the result of human effort, but cooperation between human intention and greater natural forces. This wisdom applies perfectly to your consciousness harvesting in October. The growth you've experienced wasn't accomplished through willpower alone, but through alignment with greater evolutionary currents. The harvest cycle also contains wisdom about rhythmic balance between action and rest. After the intense activity of gathering, traditional communities entered a period of relative quiet, a time for storytelling, craftsmanship, and internal focus. Your consciousness requires similar rhythmic alternation between expansion and integration, outward manifestation, and inward reflection. October marks this transition point from the active expression of summer consciousness to the integrative wisdom of autumn mind. Honoring this natural rhythm prevents the burnout that often results from continuous external striving without corresponding periods of internal renewal. Recognizable patterns emerge everywhere during October. Notice how frequently people transition into new living spaces or begin new professional chapters during this period. Sometimes this occurs because lease agreements conclude, projects transition, or organizations restructure before year's end. Even intimate connections often transform during this season. People either strengthen their bonds as the year concludes or recognize misalignments and choose conscious separation. This timing isn't coincidental. It follows the natural cycles of reflection and recalibration that October inherently activates in the collective field. These pattern clusters reveal something profound about collective consciousness rhythms. While conventional thinking might attribute these transitions to practical factors, academic calendars, fiscal year boundaries, or holiday anticipation, a deeper examination reveals synchronization with natural energy cycles. Human-created systems like fiscal calendars and academic years didn't emerge arbitrarily, but evolved in response to these underlying natural rhythms. Even if this connection has been forgotten in modern consciousness, corporate structures unconsciously acknowledge October's transformational properties. Many organizations schedule major reorganizations, leadership transitions, or strategic pivots during this month, recognizing the intrinsic energy of change it embodies. Embrace October not just as a month, but as a living gateway for your soul's evolution. Participate fully in its currents of transformation, knowing that every choice you make echoes through the quantum field, shaping not only your destiny, but the collective awakening of humanity. Step forward, shed the old, and bravely welcome the magnificent becoming that awaits.